Welcome back, everyone. So, today we are going to discuss about ultimate analysis. Last class we have discussed about proximate analysis, in which we have studied about moisture content, organic matter content, ash content, and fixed carbon content. Now we'll go for ultimate analysis. So, this is also known as elemental analysis, and it is method to determine the carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen present in the solid fuel. Right. Now, what is the need of this analysis? So, it is essential to understand the properties of biomass materials and to evaluate their utility. So, as chemical feedstocks and also design suitable gasified systems. So, this analysis is carried out to find out the oxygen required for combustion for efficient production of energy. Okay. So, determination of carbon and hydrogen first. So, this is a figure which gives us a representation of how carbon and hydrogen are undergoing combustion reaction. So, about 0.2 grams of accurately weighed coal sample is burned in oxygen in the apparatus above. So, here carbon, that is coal sample, is burnt. So, if it has carbon present in it, it undergoes combustion reaction to form carbon dioxide. And if hydrogen is present, it forms water. Right? We know that. Then KOH and CaCl2, that is potassium hydroxide, and calcium chloride tubes absorb carbon dioxide and water respectively. So here we have these two tubes. One is anhydrous calcium chloride, another one is potassium hydroxide. So potassium hydroxide absorbs whatever the carbon dioxide is evolved. Okay? And calcium chloride absorbs the water. Because it is anhydrous, it becomes hydrated water. So increase in the weights of tubes will be noted. Right? So percentage of carbon is given as increase in the weight of KOH tube into 12, that is the atomic number of carbon, into 100, because we are taking the percentage, by weight of the coal sample taken, into 44. This 44 is the atomic, that is molecular weight of carbon dioxide. Similarly, for hydrogen, we have increase in the weight of calcium chloride tube into 2 into 100 by weight of coal sample taken into 18. So 2 is for hydrogen, 18 is for water. Okay? And because absorption is taking place in calcium chloride tube, so there will be increase in the weight of calcium chloride tube. Right? Now, this is about carbon and hydrogen. Now coming to nitrogen. So nitrogen cannot be determined directly. Okay? So this is an indirect method where we use Jaldan flask. Okay? In this we have this compound plus concentrated sulfuric acid and copper sulfate. And then this is Jaldan trap, okay, water outlet, and we are titrating this. Okay? Yeah, I'll tell you the procedure. So 1 gram of accurately weighed powdered coal is heated with concentrated sulfuric acid in Jaldan flask. So if nitrogen is present, present in the coal sample, it reacts with sulfuric acid to form ammonium sulfate. Okay? And this ammonium sulfate is again treated with excess KOH. So when it is treated with excess KOH, we get ammonia. Okay, so the liberated ammonia is distilled over and absorbed in a known volume of standard solution of acid. So because it is a gas, it escapes. So that is being absorbed in acid solution again. Right? Now the unused acid is determined by back titration with standard NaOH solution. Okay? So this is just a acid-base titration done. Okay? Now, percentage of nitrogen is volume of acid used into normality of the acid into 1.4 by weight of coal sample taken. So how we are getting this 1.4 is, that is 14 is the atomic weight of nitrogen. So by 14 by 1000 into 100. So that gives us the 1.4. Clear? Right? Now, Determination of sulfur. So how sulfur is determined? Actually, this sulfur is always determined from bond calorimeter washings. Okay? So sulfur is converted into sulfate and the washings are treated with barium chloride. So when sulfate is treated with barium chloride, barium sulfate will be formed. Right? So the precipitate is filtered, washed and heated to a constant weight. So now the percentage of sulfur will be what? Weight of barium sulfate obtained into 32, the atomic weight of sulfur, into 100 by weight of coal sample taken into 230. Okay? Then determination of oxygen. So the percentage of oxygen is nothing but 100 minus percentage of oxygen, hydrogen, sulfur, nitrogen. Or we can say that it is percentage of oxygen is, sorry, this has been given wrong. It is C, carbon. So 100 minus percentages of carbon, hydrogen, sulfur and nitrogen. So that gives us the percentage of oxygen. Right? So, in ultimate analysis, we are determining the percentages of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, and then oxygen. Okay. So, coming to its significance. So, which one should be high now? So, when we see carbon and hydrogen, we generally say that carbon and hydrogen should be high. But I say that only carbon percentage should be more. Because hydrogen, if it is present, it again reacts with oxygen to form water. That is nothing but moisture. So moisture should not be present. Similarly, for oxygen also, the same thing applies. Okay. Then coming to sulfur and nitrogen. Sulfur causes pollution, so it is not desirable. Okay. Then nitrogen, it is an inert gas, so it may be present or not present, it doesn't make any sense. So that is why we say that the percentage of carbon should be very high, even in ultimate analysis of coal. Okay. So this is about ultimate analysis of coal and then significance of it. Okay. Now we are going for another topic, that is liquid fuels called as petroleum. So petroleum is also called as rock oil. Okay. So it is naturally occurring oil. So it is also a type of fossil fuel, right? Because it is also found from the remnants of the plants and animals. So its colors varies from black to brown. So either petroleum oil flows out itself or it is pumped out mechanically. Okay. Now the typical composition of petroleum is as follows. That is carbon 84 to 87, hydrogen 11 to 15, nitrogen zero point 0.1 to 1.5, oxygen zero point 0.3 to 1.5, and sulfur zero point 0.1 to 3. So this is the actual composition of petroleum or crude oil or rock oil. Now, origin of petroleum, all these things you know. Then coming to these theories, that is Engler's theory, carbide theory, all this you know, I think you have studied in your intermediate. Just for your refreshment course, I'm showing these slides. Okay. Now coming to its classification. So in classification, depending on the nature, these hydrocarbons are classified as paraffinic, naphthalic, and asphaltic, and then mixed. So paraffins are generally molecular formula with CnH2n plus 2, and these are saturated hydrocarbons, that is N12 and 35, right? Then naphthenes having general formula CnH2n. These are saturated ring compounds N12 and 9. Okay. Then asphaltic, that is CnH2n. We have olefins also, right? Then aromatics also, that is C6H2n minus 6, where N is greater than 6. So lower hydrocarbons in these groups are generally gases, intermediate ones are liquids, and higher ones are solids or semi-solids. These are the uses of petroleum products. Right? So they are used as lubricants, fuels, oils, right? As jet fuels, right? Then production of hydrogen, refinery gas, domestic and industrial fuels, etc. So this is about alternate analysis of coal and petroleum. Thank you.